Well, hello once again. Today is August 9th, 2012. We decided to go down. We hear all the hubbub on both sides as to, what Romney's going to do. I mean, they're pretty presumptuous. Romney hasn't even really gotten the nomination yet, but they're assuming that he will get it. There's still a chance that he won't. But with all of the dialectic that's taking place on the television today and in the media, I decided to go down and find out what the candidates' issues were on each of these subjects. And what I found out was that, wow, these people are really uninformed on both camps. They're relying on the ignorance of the population to still be stuck at this left-right dynamic, which is really not doing shit. So I decided to question both camps and to see what I could find out with. And my reasoning behind it was this. If I go to a Ford dealership and I ask the salesman about the new 2012 Mustang, for instance, that salesman will be able to tell me all the information I need to make a conscious decision as to whether or not to purchase that vehicle. One of the key things of any kind of salesmanship, whether it's a car, a refrigerator, some furniture, or a politician, is one, you have to have product knowledge. The second thing that you have to have is a true belief in that product. It's very difficult to sell a product that you know nothing about because you're not ready for any of the questions, or that you don't really believe in. So anyway, let's take a look at some of the results that took place today when we were doing this little experiment. Okay? We'll see what happens with that.
Okay, ready to go into the Obama Democratic headquarters here in Harrisonburg, Virginia. I'm going to put my phone in my pocket so that I can't, don't make people nervous thinking I'm filming them, which I am. So here we go. This is the official place, huh?
Yep.
Well,
Is it?
I'm an undecided voter.
Okay.
And I'm just wondering, I figure this is, I usually kind of stay out of it, but I figure this is probably one of those elections that's really going to matter.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why should I vote for Barack Obama and hair plug Biden? I'm sorry.
Well, I could go on for hours and hours
Sure.
about that. They say that this election is going to be the most important election of my lifetime, at least. You probably had different elections that.
Oh, I've seen him come, boy. I watched Richard Nixon resign.
Oh, wow.
So I've been around.
Oh, yeah. I would have loved to have been around during that time. But yeah, this election, it's right here. It's forward. That's what our slogan is. That's why we're here, because we don't want this election to change all the progress we've had in the last 4 years. We've gotten out of the recession.
Oh, we've gotten out of the recession?
Yes.
I've been unemployed for over a year, and I'm still not finding nothing unless I go work for a government job, and that's really, to me, not increasing the wealth of the nation. So I can't really count government jobs as being an increase in jobs. You know what I'm saying? I mean, because they're taxpayer funded. Well, in all reality, they're Federal Reserve funded. Your taxes don't go to pay for your roads and stuff. It goes to pay the debt we owe to the Federal Reserve. All right. What I'm wondering forward is kind of a.
It's based on the slogan that the things that we have created over the last 4 years, the healthcare law, the stimulus bill that got us out of the recession, the bailouts for.
Well, wait. We're not out of the recession.
Yes, by legal definition, we are out of the
because
recession.
of the job numbers. For instance, the job numbers we have to really look at are the ones that they're producing for us are not the ones that are indicating those that have just given up, gone home to live with mom and dad, or out on the street they're dropped out of society, they're off the grid, you see.
Yeah, that's true.
And I'm seeing more and more of that. For instance,
but if you look at the actual numbers, not based on the indexes or anything like that, the ratios, if you look at the actual numbers, we've created 4.2 million jobs just in the private sector.
Okay.
And that's from things like the stimulus bill, that's from the auto industry staying afloat, that's from the new healthcare law. These are different elements of what Barack Obama has done as a president.
But isn't General Motors getting ready to move to China at the taxpayers' expense? I mean, let's face it, with that helping out of the bailout, that was actually kind of a step towards fascism, to where now the government has stock holdings in a private corporation, right?
No, the actual what happened was the U.S. government issued a loan to 3 of the 4 major auto companies, GM, Chrysler, and Ford.
Ford didn't take
or not
the
Ford.
bailout. Well, see, General Motors, because my father was retired from General Motors, and this is what I found out from that. The General Motors was actually able to perform a breach of contract on my father as a retiree. When he worked for General Motors, he would sign a contract every so many years guaranteeing him so many certain benefits and everything else like that. Now, without anything, they've swept away his vision coverage completely because of this. And which is in direct violation. If I did that to you, if you wrote a contract with me that I promised you something, and then later on I decide to renege on it, you could get me for breach of contract.
Exactly.
But in this instance, because it was a government thing, nobody can do anything. You're pretty well screwed. And he's got really bad cataracts.
Well, actually, the healthcare bill addresses that exact issue. It's how the government issued healthcare plan that's competing with the private industry healthcare, coverages. Now they have specific things that must be covered, and they can't. Employers aren't allowed to pick and choose. Like, how sometimes you come into a new job and they say, well, you get to pick and choose of these, which of the 3 that you want to be covered, eyes, dental, things like that. That's out of the question now. Now it's a specific plan that must be followed, and that's part of just the insurance company's regulations for the new healthcare bill.
All right.
So that's one thing that's going to change completely. In the instance of the motor companies, that were bailed out, it was literally a direct loan with stipulations.
Well, where did they get the money to loan to the auto companies from? From the Federal Reserve.
Well,
I mean, there's $6 trillion missing, and nobody seems to be concerned. It's missing. It's missing.
It's not missing. It's owed.
No, it's missing. There is now I'm not talking about the stimulus money. There was $6 trillion came up missing from the Federal Reserve, and it's been swept under the rug completely. I'm not blaming Republicans or Democrats. I'm just saying, hey, somebody's got to be accountable. What I'm getting at is, what is Barack Obama's stand on transparency regarding the Federal Reserve? I mean, we're talking about a private bank that is unaccountable to anybody, including him. He can't even go in there.
Well, the president meets directly with,
He can't go in the building. You can't go in the building.
Yes, because it's a private
bank. So why are they deciding our monetary without transparency?
Well, because the Fed has always been operated as, it's kind of like one of those, semi-government regulated industries, but it's a private.
It's not regulated. That's the point.
Well, it's regulated in the sense that they control monetary policy.
They regulate themselves. That's the point.
Yes, but they do it through. They're elected by. They're appointed by officials, and Obama appointed.
So then, what would be wrong with the Transparency Act that allowed Congress and the American people to?
Hey, we're all for transparency.
That's what I'm getting at. So now, what I'm building up to right here with this is the fact that the Federal Reserve Act was signed in 1913 with a quorum of 3 senators while everybody was gone on Christmas vacation. Okay. Their charter is up next year. Does Barack Obama plan on going back to our own currency, or are we going to endure another 100 years of a private bank issuing our own currency for us to pay back at an interest rate?
See, I don't think that would happen. I don't think that'd happen on any side. I don't think there's any side that's going to.
There actually is.
Well, there's
Ron Paul's transparency audit the Fed bill passed with more than a 2/3 majority through the House of Representatives. But of course, Harry Reid's going to sit on it and not let it roll.
Well, it's different with, Ron Paul is not a Republican. Ron Paul is an independent, and he's always been a libertarian independent.
Well, he ran on a Republican ticket.
He has no other ticket to run on, so he has to run on the Republican ticket. He's definitely a little bit more right than most, independents or libertarians, and that's why he runs the Republican ticket, just like his son Ron Paul. But the Fed, just like you said, the Fed when it was issued its charter, that was also when progressive tax rate was initiated in 1913. The Fed definitely needs to be reformed, and that would be a huge issue when the Fed's contract comes up for.
But that would be easy to do if it were a governmental body. It's no more federal than Federal Express.
Well, it is a federal government body, whether it's not legally that name. I mean, he appoints the head of the Fed. That's if you can appoint the head of a private agency, it's not really a private agency.
That's kind of a conflict there. That's what I'm wondering. Both sides have done. Now I know that George Bush put into practice the signing of executive order after executive order, which kind of does an end run around the Congress. Mm-hmm. That kind of that's, in my opinion, wouldn't you agree? That's kind of dictatorial.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
But
well, then why would this side sign several? And don't get me wrong, I'm not one side or the other. I'm for truth. I'm for transparency. If that is the case, then why would there have been several executive orders inching us closer and closer and closer to the implement of martial law?
Well,
signed by Barack Obama, and usually done with nobody really knowing, unless you go and dig on whitehouse.gov, you find the document and go, what? He can take over the grid? He can take over the food supply?
Well, that
he can directly challenge posse comitatus and have troops acting in a police capacity. I don't like that. If you go to Mexico and North Korea, you've got soldiers acting in a police capacity. We strictly have an act that prohibits us from that posse comitatus. However, I see more and more that there's Marines and Army participating in routine DUI checks, seatbelt checks, roadblocks, and things like that.
Most of those are precautionary.
Precautionary for what? Isn't that something the police are supposed to be doing?
Precautionary for,
why would the military be involved with that?
It's kind of like, when there's a riot that local police and state police can't handle, they call in the National Guard, or they call in, whichever.
Right, but that's that state's militia. I'm talking about actually having regular Army and regular Marine, not reserves, not National Guard, set up on roads, blocking up the traffic, checking people to make sure they have their seatbelt, or if they've been drinking, or what knows else.
Like that. And
go on the internet. There are multiple videos of this occurring all over the place. We've extended Homeland Security and Border Patrol well over 150 miles inside of our border. We had our own CIA come up with a plot for the underwear bomber. Had him escorted without a passport onto a flight from Amsterdam in order to generate support for naked body scanners in airports where here. This guy didn't even come from the United States. He came from Amsterdam without a passport. But we have to be subjected to this dangerous radiation that can literally unzip your DNA. I don't get that, man.
There's things like that they can fly under the radar completely.
Well, that one didn't fly under the radar. That one right there was completely, for lack of a better term, that was set up. That was completely set up. I don't know how you go try to get on an international air flight without a passport and see if you can do it.
Well, that's just someone working within the system that decided.
Right. That's what I'm worried about.
Yeah, but that's obviously illegal, and he was obviously caught.
Right, but the wrong people are being punished. You understand that? The wrong people are being punished. Where's the guy that helped him on the plane? Where's the guy that talked to the officials that said, we all the time put poor African people on a plane without a passport? Where is this guy at? Where is the security? See, this is the thing. If you look into that underwear bomber, okay, that you can transparently, if you step outside the box and look, you can actually see that was a setup to sell these body scanners, which don't work. I can put something on an outside pocket that's fully metal and stand there in front of that body scanner and it won't show up because of the black background. It's already been debunked several times.
Yeah.
And another thing that kind of scares me is this National Defense Authorization Act. That's not a good thing. When they call for, again, crossing off part of my Bill of Rights, for the indefinite detention of American citizens without charge or due process, I think some red flags ought to come up, man.
Yeah, absolutely.